السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. معنا اليوم كبير صحفي، رئيس صحيفة كرونيكل لايف، الصحفي لي ريدر. طبعا الكرونيكل لايف هي أكبر صحيفة أو أول صحيفة رياضية في مدينة نيوكاسل. Last we'd like to welcome Lee Ryder in Newcastle with Alwaleed for first time. Welcome, Mr. Lee.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on.
It's such an honor and a pleasure, Mr. Lee. I'm not going to ask you about Newcastle I'm not going to ask you what about Newcastle this season. I want to ask you about when this relegation fear end, when we are going to be safe. We know we are now in 14 in standing table. We have 31 points so far, and we are not much. We can see Brentford 30, Leeds 29, Everton 25 with 2 games or 3 games maybe more. So this is still scary. As Eddie Howe says, we are far from being safe. So we have these 9 games. Which games do you think we will be safe from relegation?
Well, I mean, you look at the league table there, and I see sort of Norwich and Watford and Burnley at the bottom. And I think at this stage of the season, when it gets to the point where someone needs to win 3 games and the other team needs to lose 3 games, whether it be a bit of a swing, I think it becomes very difficult. I wouldn't say Newcastle are safe right now because, things can still change. We've seen it before. But realistically, once Newcastle get on to 35, 36 points, I do believe they will be mathematically secure in the Premier League for next season. But I'm looking at, that fixture list there. Tottenham is very difficult away from home. They'll have to do their best down there. Then you've got 3 home games, the comforts of St. James's Park, the crowd behind you. I think they'll be safe in one of those 3 games, and hopefully, if they can win a couple of games and pick up a point maybe in the other one, then I think it's that'll be it, which will be a remarkable turnaround because only in December Newcastle had no wins on the board and they were second bottom in the table.
For me, I believe we're gonna be safe in the Crystal Palace game. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. If they did manage to do that, then I think that would be, if I'm right in thinking, I think that would be better than last season under Steve Bruce. I think it was like something like that, which was still a good achievement in itself. But if they get better last season, then that shows good progress. But that I think the table there it's quite tight, and if Newcastle can put another one of these 6 or 7 game unbeaten runs together, then who knows? They might get a very respectable position. So there's still a lot of play for, and I think it will come down to the mentality of the players. Once they do get safe, are we going to see players? We have this expression about players hitting the beach early, and I think for me, sometimes when you're safe, just psychologically can be difficult. So I'd love to see them finish really strong, but this is going to be a test of the players' mentality. But what you got to remember is a lot of these players now are playing for the future. They know that the club has money to bring in players, replace them if they need to, and I think everybody should be using that as motivation.
Our friend Dave, he met Matthew Longstaff earlier in the Plymouth Beach this morning, and he tried to get some exclusive interviews, but he said he's not allowed to. And but he did tell us that when we asked him about, do you think he will have a chance? He said, I can't really expect I would have or not. Very hard to decide. But with all the news that the players coming, it's very hard to predict. That was from Matthew Longstaff this morning. So it's like what you're saying.
Yeah, it's one of them where I think really the players now, some of them that are still at the club, they will want to be part of the journey. You know, the journey moving forward, the journey moving in the top 10, hopefully pushing to Europe. And I think if you go back to the Kevin Keegan era, you had players like Lee Clark, Steve Watson, Robbie Elliott. They were all local lads, and they managed to be part of it. You know, they managed to dovetail in with the players, with the superstars, and you know they didn't look out of place. So there's always a chance. I mean, I think Matty Longstaff has done brilliant on loan at Mansfield. I think the Aberdeen move in the end, it wasn't a good move for him. I believe it was down to politics in terms of, you know, things that were happening within the club. So he's gone there and played his football. I mean, for me, I've watched Matty Longstaff since he was a young kid in the reserves, and he was always head and shoulders above the rest. Can play in a lot of positions. I still think there's something there to work with. I genuinely hope both the Longstaff brothers have a future at Newcastle. I think they can be part of it, because, as I say, you need them local lads on the journey with you. You need the local lads in there. They know what it's all about, and they can help guide the other players as well. So hopefully they can be part of the journey, but I know they'll be given everything. But yeah, maybe he's being realistic there and saying, you know, you can't predict what's going to happen. Who would have thought we'd be signing England internationals, Brazil internationals, you know, just a few months ago? Football changes very quickly, but I'd love to see them stay on. I really would.
Since the takeover about 6 months, almost 6 months ago, all our talk about our first priority is the not to be relegated. So it seemed like we didn't give much attention until except that part. So if we guarantee, hopefully at the end of April, Crystal or Norwich maximum, we'll have, inshallah, we will not be relegated, and we guarantee that. So what next do you think, Mr. Lee, to focus? Now Newcastle, it seemed like, I know the new management walk the talk around other stuff the fans taking care of or care about, but we give the priority and for not to be relegated. So if we guarantee that, what next to focus do you think? Of course, it's going to be the signing, or the thing until now, except now they are talking about the signings. But also, I would like to add to this question, to what next to focus. If you agree with me, it's going to be the signing. Also, Eddie Howe, we heard earlier that Eddie Howe doesn't want a player that have maybe more salary than the others, or like £100 maximum. He doesn't want like big star. If that's true, do you think this will go with the owner's plans for future?
I personally think that we're going to see a real balance of different players coming in. I think there is room for one or two, you know, if you like, superstars to come in. I mean, who would have thought we'd have signed Kieran Trippier? Who would have thought we'd have signed Bruno Guimaraes? You know, these are top-notch, world-class players. So it is about getting those players in, but also players that can compete. Also, some younger players that are going to be there for the future, and they're going to be part of the project moving forward. I think the mentality of it all is really important. I think what Newcastle sometimes have lacked is kind of these sort of low maintenance players where they don't need the arm around the shoulder all the time. They just go out, they perform, and they do a job for the team, and they're available for most of the season. That's the sort of players Newcastle will need going forward. I believe people like Bruno, he's a perfect example because the way he lives his life. He's just a fantastic athlete, and I think he's going to moving forward. I can genuinely see him, maybe not being captain, but being one of the real leaders of the dressing room. And if we sign 2 or 3 more players of that ilk, then we've got a real chance next season of, who knows, pushing up, maybe trying to get that last European spot, 7th in the table, or maybe going on a cup run. I'm really excited about the future. I think it's going to be It reminds me of back in the day with Kevin Keegan when things were really exciting. It's been tough, it's been painful in the last 10 years, but hopefully the future is bright now.
So you agree with me? Is the focus is going to be the new signing?
I think this season,
the main focus.
Yeah, the main focus. I think behind the scenes, they won't say it in press conferences. They won't talk about new signings, but behind the scenes, they will be getting their shortlist drawn up, and they'll be looking at the contracts that they want to give to existing squad members. So the main focus for me, yeah, definitely, who's going to come in the summer. I personally believe there'll be 4, 5, or 6 new signings possibly. I think we'll see a lot of departures as well. Some players who are ready to go, some players who may have clubs lined up already. So I think it's going to be a very busy summer, and but then I still think that there's some players that still have a future because they've got these 9 games now to impress and potentially win a place in the squad next season. So this is where you want your football club to be. You want everybody fighting for that shirt. You want 2 or 3 players in there in each position, and yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting few months ahead.
Like Wissam here, I said ask Lee the name of the players, but this is very, very tough to. This is a huge list. Maybe I can ask Lee what the position of the 5 or 6 signings you're talking about. The positions.
Yeah, positions. I think we're going to see obviously another forward coming in. We've seen a lot of forwards linked, but you've still got Callum Wilson in there, who's when fit is one of the best finishers in the Premier League. So there's still a lot of good players in that position. I think midfield is we're looking pretty full in there at the moment. In the centre of midfield, there's a lot of good players there, so I don't think that's a priority. Left back, we know Matt Targett is lined up to possibly come in, but I think after that they'll probably be looking at maybe a younger player to back him up. And then we keep seeing goalkeepers linked as well. You've got Freddie Woodman down at Bournemouth. Is that going to turn into a permanent deal? He hasn't played many games. We'll have to wait and see. You've got Carl Darlow, you've got Dubravka, who are all very capable as well. So we'll see what happens. But then I've seen Kepa linked at Chelsea. I mean, what a signing that would be. There's a lot of high profile players we're getting linked with. So I do think forward, fullback, and possibly a goalkeeper to come in, but definitely all round will be to try and strengthen the squad. I know that's what Eddie Howe wants at his disposal.
What about right back and centre back? Because we were trying to get Jesse Lingard at last day. And also we tried to get Botman and Diego Carlos in centre back. So this, I think, area definitely will have players on.
Yeah, I mean the Botman one is really interesting. He's actually said in the media that that he was impressed by the project that was put in front of him by Newcastle. Amanda Staveley said that she was very keen on bringing him here. In terms of a right back, you've got Kieran Trippier there. You've still got Manquillo. You've genuinely got options in that position. Emil Kraft as well. We'll have to wait and see. But as far as Lingard's concerned, I asked Eddie Howe at a press conference, and unusually, he stood it up. He said, I am interested in him. He says, that's all I need to say about it. And the fact that he's actually clarified his interest in a player when the name's put to him, I'm really impressed with that, actually, because not many managers would do that. But Lingard sounds like he's one on their list. But I've done a little piece the other day about AC Milan possibly coming in for him as well. That'll be a big decision for him, wouldn't it? Going to Milan. playing with some superstars there, playing in the Champions League. We're not quite at that Champions League level yet, so that would be a decision for him. And I think he's 29 years old, so these chances to play for a club like AC Milan don't come up too often. But you never know, because Newcastle have got a big project on the table as well.
Dan Ashworth, he seemed like we didn't know about. He's still in vacation, and what a long vacation! It's weird, for me. I think it's a long time for vacation, and he didn't take any vacation at Brighton. What's your take, or what do you know about Dan Ashworth? When he gonna start?
I think the problem has been is that obviously Brighton didn't want to let him go because he's so good at what he does, and Brighton have made life quite difficult for Newcastle by not releasing him from his contract. So he's on what we would call gardening leave here, and he's basically having to wait for Brighton to give him the green light to resume his new job. So Brighton hold the cards on this one. I know only a few weeks ago when we played Brighton, Brighton was still a little bit upset. I mean, we did sign Dan Burn off them as well, so we've had a bit of a raid on Brighton. So yeah, I think it might take a little bit more time. Compensation, will have to be agreed. But at the end of the day, usually money talks, doesn't it? And once that magic figure appears, then maybe Brighton will let him start work. But maybe the longer Brighton hold on, they could be competing for players that we're trying to sign. They will know Dan Ashworth has a list of players that he was looking to bring to Brighton. They know what he wants. The longer they can delay him, the harder it makes it for Newcastle in this window. But it's not just transfers that he's going to come in and look at the club. He's going to change a range of things, the academy, the loan system, the women's football team. He's going to come in and have a lot of say on a lot of areas of the club.
So okay, how much do you think the budget is for a transfer in the summer?
Well, I think you'd be hard pushed to find a football club who'll tell you how much they're going to spend. No one.
No, your expectation.
My expectation, I think they will pay the money for any player that they see fit to come in at Newcastle. So, I wouldn't put a figure on it. We're controlled by the financial fair play anyway, so it can only be so much. But for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they spent another 100 million in this summer. I don't think even they genuinely know how much they're going to spend, because you put a bid in for a player, the other club then say we want another 10 million or whatever. It takes time. You've got longer in the summer than you did in January. They'll have deals ready as well. They'll have deals where players have a clause like Chris Wood did, and they'll be clued up on that. They've got more time now. There's still good people at the club in terms of people like Steve Nixon who know the transfer circuit. I mean, Steve Nixon's done a really good job bringing in players like St. Maximin, Joe Linton, Bruno, Trippier. He was involved in all them signings, Almiron as well. So he's got a good amount of knowledge, and I think he'll have some good players lined up. And already the agencies that he's been speaking to, they've done business with, so they're in a position where they don't have to go knocking on someone like Mike Ashley's door for money. The money is there, and yeah, I think it'll be a prosperous transfer window. How much exactly, who knows? But could it go as far as 100 million? I think it could, yeah.
We heard news yesterday about financial fair play being off. Mm-hmm. Is that really accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation about that, and we
nothing sure yet.
Well, I haven't seen anything absolutely concrete on it, and until I do, then I kind of reserve my judgment until I've seen it. But we know, in the past, teams have been hit with sanctions for overspending, and Newcastle will want to have everything in order. They won't want to even risk any of that. But as I say, there's good people there that can guide them through, and the good thing is there's ambition there, and they'll want to really push and improve this squad, and that's what the fans will be the most interested in my opinion.
All right. Would like to ask you, Mr. Lee, about a couple of things regarding the media. Eddie Howe, I think you know the question already. Eddie Howe been asked a lot of a question not related to the football, and for us, especially in Saudi Arabia, this is weird because here in Saudi Arabia we have amazing and top class coaches. We never asking them anything not football related. Why we see they are focused on Eddie Howe? Only Eddie Howe. The other coach doesn't been asked any questions not related to the football, but Eddie Howe just keep being asked related. Is this common in England?
I think at his first press conference, he was asked about these issues, and he made it very clear then that he was only going to answer questions on football. Then, because of what's happened in the world, it's emerged again. These questions. I think it was at Chelsea where a few people obviously have been asked by their desks to try and get an answer on these issues. And then so that was after Chelsea, and then before the Everton game, I think he was pushed a little bit more on it, and I think he gave a bit more. He gave a few more answers on it. He said he was trying to educate himself, and yeah, I think he dealt with them reasonably well, because at the end of the day, he is a football coach, as you say, and it's a football press conference, and for him, for him to go sort of totally off track, it would be very difficult for him. So he's said, he probably reflected what everyone says when he said he's looking to educate himself on things as much as possible, which is probably what we all think.
There is an interesting question, and I ask a lot of Saudi and Arab journalists about it. I would like to ask you, as you are from journalists from England, from Newcastle specifically, just your opinion. I noticed through my daily covering that the club didn't do interviews with Saudi and Middle East channels or newspapers. There is kind of privacy in this area. Your opinion and take on that?
Is that on the trip that they're on at the moment that you're referring to, or
the whole time after the takeover?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, for my understanding of the last press conference was on Zoom in Saudi Arabia, and I thought that the press officer had left the press conference running for local journalists, and then we didn't see that part. So that was my understanding of it. And in terms of access for Middle East journalists, I'm not 100% sure. I think I might have seen maybe one or two journalists from the Middle East at games, but overall, because of the COVID situation, we've only just started going into press rooms again ourselves, so we're all still finding our feet and getting to know each other again, sort of thing. So in terms of that, it's all been over Zoom, so that's something I'd have to research a little bit and maybe come back to you on.
For Mike Ashley era, is it the same with COVID and these restrictions, and it's very hard to cover the team by legal access or official requesting?
I think under Mike Ashley, I mean, because we've had COVID, it's only actually that I think the last two press conferences have been back at the training ground. And after games, we at Everton, for example, I couldn't actually get in the press room because it was restricted, so I had to like do it by Zoom. So I didn't see anybody down there on that one. In terms of under Mike Ashley, I mean, Mike Ashley never engaged with the press. He didn't want to talk to the press. Sometimes he sent his managing director out to speak. We spoke to Lee Charnley. We spoke to Derek Lambias. We spoke to Chris Mort before then. But we nobody other than Sky Sports got an interview with Mike Ashley during his whole tenure at Newcastle, and he didn't want to engage with the local press. Why? I think he felt the criticism was too harsh at times, but you know, he forced Kevin Keegan out the door, and after that, there was no way back. There was no way back for him with some fans. I know of people who, after Kevin Keegan was pushed away by Mike Ashley, they never went back. They said, "That's it. I'm not going back." And they're only now coming back under new owners, saying, "I want to try and get a season ticket again. I want to try and get a ticket again." So that's where a lot of people stood with Mike Ashley. Others just continued to go. But if you remember, at one point he was giving away 10,000 season tickets because the decline and the apathy, it just set in around the club. It wasn't a very nice place to be. And, it's been a real lift off everyone's shoulders to have these new owners come in, engage. We've been up in the boardroom, things like that, things we hadn't been able to do. Speaking to the owner, talking football with the owner. It's been a real sort of breath of fresh air, really.
Lee, even now in Dubai, we did, usually the teams when they are going have camping or different countries, usually there is some channels and journalists to cover the trip or do some interviews. We didn't see that in Newcastle, in Jeddah, and even in Dubai.
I think in Saudi, I think Eddie Howe did do a press conference, but it was over Zoom. It was a closed trip for the press because of COVID. They wanted to keep all the squad in a sort of same.
But sorry to interrupt you, Lee, but some of the channels, for me, I'm just a YouTuber, and some of the channels ask me personally to try and help for interviews, which I am very shocked. I'm just a YouTuber. It's weird. I'm not have any like power or anything, or authority or anything. So in a big channels, and also the thing make me wonder. One of them, he said, for COVID restriction, our team will do PCR and we'll give you the result. We want to do the interview, and I tried. It wasn't accepted. So, this is my concern. What's your take on this?
Yeah.
So it's not COVID because PCR. So.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting point you raise, and other journalists have suggested that to me. But as far as Premier League, I mean, I wasn't in Saudi, so because I was, I complied. I understood it was a closed trip. Dubai again, I think it's a closed trip. I don't think there's been too many media being in the training. And as far as the Premier League's own rules are concerned, before the pandemic, after games, we would speak to players in what we call a mix zone. You interview the players as they're leaving the dressing room, go in their cars, whatever, getting on the bus if it's an away game, and you get 5 or 10 minutes with a player, and you can pick who you want to speak to. That was before the pandemic. Obviously, we haven't been able to mix. I mean, at one stage, we couldn't even have our own parents in the same house here. At Christmas time, we couldn't sit down and have Christmas dinner. All those sort of things. This country was very strict during the pandemic. At one point it was just myself, my partner, my daughter, just in the same house, and that was it. And you know, over Christmas, as I say, it was still very tight as well. So we've not really had the chance to interview too many players, and I think once obviously we emerge from this the whole pandemic restrictions, I think next season we'll probably be speaking to them a lot more. And wherever they go on pre-season, I don't know, will they go back to Saudi? Then I do think it will open up again. But but at the minute, they're very cautious. Newcastle had the training ground shut down last December. They've had issues where they've had games postponed. It's been very difficult for them to manage this, and you know, the outbreaks around, you know, in the UK were unbelievable. It was just wiping everybody out at one point, so it was very difficult. So I think, you know, once we emerge from all of this, I do think there will be a lot more open opportunities with players, with interviews, with media. I do think it'll open up again.
Hopefully, Lee. I'm not gonna want to take much longer in this and make sense what you said, Lee. I would like to just add a little bit. When I saw some videos and in the trips, it's like they are going with the players. They are meeting people and without mask, and so I said, okay, restriction. I didn't see any trying to protect yourself. So that make me wonder sometimes. But let's hope that next season things gonna be changed. Let's have some question from the fans, Lee. Okay. Tom Dixon says, Lee, do you think the players we missed out in the January will go back in the summer?
Yeah, I think there's every chance. You know, we've already talked about one being Jesse Lingard, who's now available on a free transfer. So they're not going to have this astronomical, you know, loan fee on their shoulders. So in terms of the ones that missed out on, yeah, I think they've got an absolute, you know, real chance of Lingard. Diego Carlos, he has the same agent as Bruno Ramirez, so there will be dialogue already going on with that one. Sven Botman, another one, he came very close. I think Zapata as well at Atlanta, the striker. He's another one that, you know, I know they've been looking at again since the window. So there's 4 players just off the top of my head that, you know, they've got a chance of going back in for. And yeah, if they can get players of that caliber, then, you know, I don't think we'll be talking about relegation battles again.
4-4-2. Are we gonna come back to this formation soon with Eddie Howe?
Yeah, so I think we've seen Eddie play 4-3-3, which seems to suit the players, and I think that was the main formation during the unbeaten run. We've seen them go back to a 5 at the back against Chelsea, a little bit more cautious. But I do think it genuinely boils down to who they're playing. If they're at home, I think they can afford to get on the front foot. Personally, I'd love to see 4-4-2, have 2 strikers up there causing problems. You know, I was brought up on watching partnerships like, you know, Alan Shearer and Les Ferdinand, and, you know, watching Kevin Keegan's teams have a real go. So for me, yeah, 4-4-2 would be good, but 4-3-3 isn't that bad either. It's been quite exciting. So what I do like about Eddie Howe is that he's positive. He wants to attack teams. He wants to pose questions of defenses. So I'm impressed with the way he sets his teams up.
Lee, regarding sponsorship, the Sport Direct sign being taken off, and we know all about that. But once they pay off, we all felt that there is a new sponsorship is ready. And from the interview, Mirdad and Amanda interview with the Athletic, they said something about that they are gonna work with Premier League with the new rules. So why until now we didn't hear anything regarding sponsorship? Do you have any information?
I think they actually played it down, didn't they? Because I think there was talk of a big Saudi company potentially sponsoring Newcastle, and that was played down. I think really we're looking at, the next sponsor is going to probably be, quite a lucrative one, and they're a bigger global brand already because of, with the takeover. So I think there will be in talks with some big companies. I don't have any. I don't have those names at the moment. If I did, I would be putting it on the Chronicle Live website first. Otherwise, my boss would be asking me why. So, yeah, I mean, they've got it's Fun 88, the sponsor at the minute, and I think their contract may be up soon. So we're definitely going to see something different. I mean, I think if you ask any Geordies, the sponsor they'd love to see back would be Newcastle Brownhill, but I don't think that's going to happen because a lot's changed since they were last sponsored by that.
Ben Jeffrey, is it in short list of Eddie, do you think? Everton defender.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think he's a player that they've looked at before when he's been at previous clubs, Norwich, I think. Before that, I think he was at York, and I think they did look at him when he was younger. So it's no surprise for me that he's a player that's come up. Hopefully, we'll see some exciting signings. I don't know how excited some people get on that one. Personally, I think he's a very good player. Very good player. He's done okay at Everton, so that would be a good signing. But as I say, he's definitely a player that they've scouted before and one that they've got a lot of data on.
You didn't have to answer this one. Mike Ashley will go. Do you expect he will go to another club to take charge?
If the price is right, I'm pretty sure he will. Yeah, I know he was looking at Derby County. What Mike Ashley does is he buys businesses that are on the knees, and it's the same with football clubs. He would be looking at a club that was on its knees, so he could come in and put the Sports Direct sponsors all over it and promote his brand. And that's why he did it. And Newcastle weren't on the knees. He actually probably paid over the odds for it at the time, but then didn't invest. So it was just a waste. It was just a waste of time, really, as far as the fans were concerned. He needs to have football people around him. I don't think he always had that at Newcastle. He had, he had administrators around him, and I don't think it. Well, I don't need to say how disappointing that era was, because I think we're all still getting over it.
This is a question from me, Lee. Do you think Premier League will have a director and owner test? They will be signed by the government, as Nick DeMarco says.
Yeah, well, we had fun with directors and owners tests in the last 18 months, to the point where we were. It had people depressed the way people, the Premier League were going on with it. They weren't very forthcoming with information. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens at Chelsea, who buys them, how quickly the deal goes through. I mean, they were talking about 10 days. Saying that.
Yes, and Nick DeMarco says, "I wish if Master tell us that earlier." He's still teasing them. The reason I brought this subject is: do you think we're gonna have some Chelsea players? As I heard from Saudi sources, who's fan of Chelsea, being said that, for example, Rüdiger, he's already signed under the table before the punishments. They already signed, but they didn't want to publish. They didn't want to publish that, just to avoid some other punishments
or he signed for Newcastle.
No, for renew his contract. I mean, with Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean,
could that happen?
From what I've read, he's he's not going to sign a contract, and he would be available. That would be an unbelievable signing for Newcastle United. You know,
No, he's already signed, but they didn't show it. Does it make sense?
Right. I know what he's saying, that they haven't declared that he signed a contract. The information that I've looked at, I mean, I look at the database, and it said that the contract was unsigned. So that for me means there's going to be a clutch of clubs trying to sign him this summer. If Newcastle are one of them, then I think that would be fantastic signing, fully fledged German international. Yeah, that'd be a great signing.
Do you think there will be expansion St. James Park?
Yeah, I do. I think
when do you think we know that, but when do you think it's going to happen? In the summer or maybe later?
I think they're already starting to look at the possibilities of what they can do, extra seats, refurbish areas of the ground, just little things like putting big screens up. I mean, my gosh, had little televisions about that big on the walls.
iPhone, it's not television.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, the club was run on a shoestring before new owners come in. I do believe they have been right round the ground and had a look at exactly what they can do. Can't do anything when the season's going on, obviously, because just health and safety, all that sort of thing. But I do think we'll see improvements, even little things like them, putting beer pumps in. Like at Tottenham, they've got these beer pumps where the glass goes on and it just fills straight away, so there's no queues. Everyone gets a drink and goes and settles down with a drink. So just little things like that can improve a football club. I think what I was told was the match day experience is what they want to improve, because at the moment they don't believe it's good enough. They want it to be a family club, a community club. They want people to bring their sons and daughters to the game and enjoy the facilities. And hopefully it can be the football club that was left behind all those years ago in the 90s. Hopefully we can get back to something like that again.
Last question, Mr. Lee. We before we start, someone asked replay in our tweet for the show. He asked us to talk about or support a women league, Newcastle now in the top, and something will happen in May. Actually, I didn't really get it, but any take on or comment on that, Lee?
No, I think what was announced today, or not long before I come on here, it was announced that the women will play the game at St. James's Park, which hasn't happened before. They've always played in different places, but for them to be able to play in front of a big crowd, I think they had a big crowd for one of the cup games at Kingston Park. It was good turnout, but now
which game?
I think it was against Ipswich, and I think they may have lost that game, unfortunately. But I think the game at St James's Park was against Barnsley, so I think that's brilliant. That the fans are going to get a chance to sit in the seats at a normal game. See what the women's game can bring for the players. That's them playing on the hallowed turf at St James's Park. They get an opportunity to play on there. So, and I just think it's a great thing all around. I know Amanda Staveley was really keen to do it. She delivered everything she said in terms of getting them to play at St James's. And I know they've had a lot of meetings with the women's team. Eventually, in the fullness of time, when they get a new training ground, I think they want all the teams together on one site, and that unity can deliver a successful football club.
Lee, name 3 players you want to see in Newcastle.
Ooh, 3 players this summer. Well, one I would love to see is Zapata, who plays for Atlanta, Colombian striker. I think he's a really strong competitor, gets you goals. I think the fans would love him here. We had Tino Sprillo all those years ago. coming over from.
Yeah, and he's continuous scoring, playing good. It's like he's a stable player.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I watch a lot of Italian football, so you know, I think he's not in the team at the moment, but because of an injury. But I've seen him play so many times, so yeah, he would be definitely one. Diego Carlos, if they can get him, I think he would be. I would prefer him ahead of Botman, actually. I think they're both good players, but I think Diego Carlos got a little bit more experience. You know, he's been involved in a title challenge with Seville, so yeah, he would definitely be on my list. And then, you know, probably Lingard. You know, free transfer. It's not all about spending millions of pounds and breaking the bank. Free transfer, England international. What he did at West Ham last season, you know, was unbelievable. Helped them to a European place. So I think he could do a really good job here. I think he's quite keen actually to come here as well. But as I say, when AC Milan come knocking as well, and then that can be difficult. But those three players would improve us immeasurably. So let's keep our fingers crossed we get them.
Yes, we're expecting great players to come next season to Newcastle. And thank you, Mr. Lee, for joining us tonight. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me.
كان معنا لي ريدر من صحيفة الكرونيكل. شكرا لكم للمتابعة وتصبحون على خير. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Take me home.